Little Alabama, a little bit of Auburn here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Today we got Joe Hunk on the line from 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Joe, how are we doing today?
It's a tale of two worlds, man. I mean, it is. You've got one side of the fan base is getting ready for a college football playoff and a game against Notre Dame where they expect them to just roll over them and get ready for either Ohio State or Clemson. And then on the other side of the state, you have a brand new head coach that is a very unique hire for the Auburn Tigers. So it's kind of cool to see both, because in the course of 24 hours, you have this hire going on and Auburn fans excited about one thing or upset about something. And then on the other side, you have recruiting still rolling for Alabama, rumors flying of them getting another big prospect or a big recruit coming in, signing his letter of intent pretty soon. And, so it's kind of unique to see kind of where both programs are, which, I mean, it's been that way for a while, but at least it's a little bit more fun in December, 2 days before Christmas.
So let's start on the Auburn side. Gus Malzahn, before we let him go for good, your thoughts about his firing, and in regards to the reason for the firing, was it simply you're losing 4 to 5 games a year? That is too much here at Auburn, or was there more to it than that?
Oh, there was a few things to it, and they sadly all kind of connect behind the scenes and what you saw on the football field. A lot of the football field stuff, and let's just talk about what's happening between the lines. You're in year 8 of the season. Your best season was by far your very first one. Your second best one was 2017 when you upset Alabama and Georgia in Jordan-Hare to get you to the SEC championship, where eventually you did lose to Georgia in that game. Those were probably your 2 best seasons. You've had great recruiting classes, and I know that we've talked about their recruiting classes in the past and how he's been predominantly a top 10 recruiting class outside of this year, but the program just kind of felt stagnant, and it kind of felt that it was where it was going to be underneath his leadership. And so there was absolutely time to make a change. I think part of the reason is because so many fans, so many boosters do see the talent that Auburn does have, and doesn't see them progressing and their skill sets getting any better. And I think that's kind of the reason why all the stuff took place between the lines in the locker room. All the players loved him. He and honestly, is from the media concern or the media side of it, he was a very hard coach to talk to about X's and O's stuff. But once you got him talking about family and things like that, he's a very different person. And he was actually a great person. And I think more people are going to like him as the person more than they will the coach the further we get away from this. And even in the course of the last 9 days or 10 days since he was let go, you can really see Auburn fans kind of appreciating him a lot more than what they did when he was the head coach for the Auburn Tigers. And it is because of how ugly this thing has gotten on the Plains when it comes to a coaching search.
And that's a positive side of that that you bring up that I didn't necessarily know about Gus Malzahn, because even though I'd watched all the games, read all the stats, that he just kind of came across to me as kind of a distant, aloof, nerdy, geeky play caller guy that wanted to work with the X's and O's and the offense rather than necessarily build relationships. But I got that wrong.
No, that's the persona that he put out. And I think that was part of his growth into college football, because when he was a high school coach, he didn't have to deal with all this media pressure and all that. And even as an offensive coordinator, when he was at Arkansas, and even when he was at Auburn and Tulsa, he really didn't have to deal with this. But as the head coach, it's a little bit different. And I think that he is a person, and this is part of what you're learning after he gets let go, is that he is a person that has one where he was very protective of his players. And that's the reason why you saw him get emotional. And he always tried to take the blame on himself, is because he was so protective, because he and his wife, Christy, who it was a fantastic lady at Auburn, they were protective of these players just like they were their own children. And so that's why you saw him be protective of them so often. And that was the side that we didn't see enough, because we just saw him as this guy that's going to give us cookie cutter answers over the course of a 10-15 minute press conference and never really give us anything that we can actually talk about. And it was because he was being so protective.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love each and every day. Please lock it in. Give us a like. Share the videos on social media. Folks out there don't know we're here talking college football every day. And, of course, once you subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications. Joe Hunk's on the line from 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Joe joins us on a regular basis to break down the Tide and the Auburn Tigers. Bryan Harsin. So my thought is very vanilla, bland, neutral about the hire. But once I started to dig into some articles and find out a little bit more, because again, it was just basically Boise State's produced this. It's good. It's group of 5, top of the line, but he didn't necessarily build it. That was Houston Nutt. That was Chris Peterson. That was others, Dan Hawkins. So he basically maintained a great program and did a fine job. But there wasn't necessarily anything about his personality or anything distinct about him, like he runs this kind of crazy offense or he's known for this or known for that, that led me to believe, okay, great hire, but solid football coach, no question about that. So the Harsin hire was brought to light a little bit better for me once I dug into it. And I was surprised to see the amount of Power 5 jobs that had been offered to him through the years. He's a Boise State guy. That's why it took a big job to get him away from there. And that even the NFL has inquired about him. So your thoughts about the Harsin hire?
Well, there's two sides to this, and let's look at it from the just the pure X's and O's and who Bryan Harsin is as a person is from everything that we've learned about him in 24 hours. And look, don't act like if you are an Auburn fan, if you are somebody who's been following this coaching search that you've been saying, look, I want Bryan Harsin, I've wanted him all along, because that really wasn't the case. Bryan Harsin was a guy that I think that a lot of people didn't think about, mainly because you really never think of a coach leaving Boise State. I mean, think about how many times Chris Peterson was offered a job after doing what he done with Boise State and getting them to the Fiesta Bowl multiple times. And nobody just saw him ever leaving. So I think that the thought process with Bryan Harsin, because he did play quarterback there, because he is from Boise, because everything that he knows outside of his experience of going to Texas as an offensive coordinator and going to Arkansas State was all Boise State. So nobody ever really truly expected him to want to go anywhere. And yes, in the past 24 hours, we've kind of learned things like he was getting very frustrated with the direction of the conference, the way that the Mountain West was going as a whole. He was getting very frustrated with, again, well, Boise State's always been frustrated with. They can get a 4-star talent to come in, but you're not playing a 4-star schedule. And playing in the Mountain West is a little bit different than playing elsewhere. And now, especially in the East and Southeast, you're seeing these group of 5 schools start to become a lot more dominant in the college football world. Cincinnati is in the Northeast, but more Midwest. But outside of that, you've got your UCFs and you've got those schools. BYU's not a group of 5, but you see kind of what the AAC is doing. And the Mountain West is getting left behind. And so I think that part of him was like, hey, I need to kind of get out of here and go somewhere where we can grow, or I can grow as a head coach, and so much away from the program. What we have learned about him is there's some key words that are really getting attached to him so far in the last 24 hours. One of those is CEO. The other one is going to be hard-nosed, which is obviously a phrase. And the other one that really is developer. And so those 3 phrases, honestly and unfortunately, are everything that Gus Malzahn was not. And that is what I think attracted him to potentially want to take over this job. And especially Alan Green, with the athletic director at Auburn, is looking at him is he was in ways the anti-Gus Malzahn. He's going to come in. He's going to let his staff do exactly what he's hiring them to do. He's going to make sure that everything is running properly going into Saturday. And that's how he's going to run his program. He's going to make sure that he's developing talent, whether it is 4 stars, 3 stars, or whatever it is, and getting the most out of them. And he's a hard-nosed coach. And you've heard Eli Drinkwitz talk a lot about him, is that he can come in and be one of the best guys in the world, or he can come in and be one of these hard-nosed guys that you're going to dread all day because he's going to be on you because he wants more from you. And so those are the types of things that you never really heard about Malzahn. And I think in a way, it's a really good thing that Auburn is kind of going for the direct opposite of what they had, because that's kind of what Auburn needs, is a hard-nosed guy that can develop talent, because Auburn can get in 5-star players. They can get in 4-star players, but they obviously haven't been able to turn a lot of those into NFL players. And I think that's part of the reason why he was brought in.